What we are doing right now is we had a mock-up that we used for something else to test some of our things we have and show you guys how a coupler is done. We will show you some tricks and things that we believe you should know when using a coupler. So we're going to show you a few things like that, and hopefully you guys like and learn a little something today. So one of the important things that they're doing right now is making sure that we'll have clearance for the coupler, that it doesn't drag on the concrete. We're going to pretend that this is a 100-foot long cable. After we get everything chipped out, the next step is we're going to cut the sheathing back and make room for the coupler. Now we're going to wrap the wire to cut the other side. Okay. Okay, so now what we want to do is we're going to set up our coupler. So one of the things we do here, and we strongly recommend, is measure 3 inches on both sides of your tail that's going to be going into the coupler, so that you make sure it's all the way in, and then you also have a mark to follow if by chance the wedges slip or something like that, so you don't risk having it have a half a wedge and then end up coming up on it and having the ram come loose, because it pops off pretty hard, especially once you get close to full force on it. And make sure you always tie your ram off just in case. So now we're going to make sure to mark the other side 3 inches, and we're going to say that that side is our pulling side, the one that we're marking right now. So now that we got our marks, we're going to put the coupler on the dead end side. And we're going to make sure that it's all the way on. Okay, now we're going to put the other end in, make sure it goes to the mark. There we go. So now we see both are to the mark. And now we are going to be able to stress it. One of the most important things too, when you chip out your hole, you want to keep in mind that your coupler is going to be traveling. So you're going to want to make sure you know what your elongation is, so you can properly figure out the size of the hole, because you could get 12 inches of movement, which means the anchor is going to move from here over 12 inches as we start to pull. It'll change depending on the length of the cable. And so that is something you always want to pay attention to. You want to make sure you have nothing, no concrete underneath, and that you're not going to be hitting any rebar that could cause an obstruction. So we are ready to stress now and see if the coupler holds. So this here is our calibration sheet. It will correlate, it will have the gauge number and your ram number stamped on it. And then the most important part is it will tell you what to stress to on the gauge pressure. In this case, we're going to 5250. Okay, so we are going to be putting the ram together in order to stress. One of the first things we want to do after checking our gauge number and our ram number, which will normally be stamped on the gauge, and then you'll see them stamped on the ram like that there. First thing you're going to do is screw in the gauge. Now, when you're screwing in the gauge and you have a fitting like this that twists, make sure that it is completely twisted closed, because if you have it off about 1/8 of an inch or more, you will not get gauge pressure. Most people don't notice the little gap, and they call saying the pump's not working. When you come out, twist it, and it starts to work. So something to very much pay attention to. It's one of the reasons we really like using these fittings on our rams. They just push in, and there's very little room for error. One hose is an extend, one hose is a retract. Most rams will be set up where you can't get that backwards. So we're ready to go here. Now we can start stressing. We've checked out our calibration sheet, and our ram and everything's all ready to go. So one of the things we want to do before we stress is we want to make sure both sides are wedged, and then we want to make sure that we come and clean our live end tail, and we put it at a 10-inch mark so that we can verify the elongation with a measurement after we're done. But while stressing, the most important thing is gauge pressure. Gauge pressure determines more than the elongation. Sometimes the measurements can be off, depending on if they had a problem installing or something along those lines. Okay, so now we're going to set the ram on. As you can see inside there, there's a metal ring. When you're putting your ram on, especially when it's in a pocket, you want to make sure that you don't hit that ring because it'll mess things up. Once we got our gripper set, we're going to come up on it just a little bit. And we are going to watch our coupler as we're coming up just for the first little bit. We don't want to be standing over it other than maybe the first 1500, 2000 PSI on the gauge. Just making sure that those lines don't come out so we can tell that our wedges have not slipped. Yep. All right, well, let's go ahead and stress this. One of the things you never want to do while stressing is stand behind the ram or over the ram. Another thing you don't want to do, especially if it's not an encapsulated system, is absolutely do not grab the ram until after you've come off of it and there's no force, because that ram will twist very hard from the concrete that's around the cables. So we're going to come over here. As we said, you want to watch the gauge closely. Go ahead and come up all the way. This being short, we're just kind of jogging it today just for the demonstration. Okay, we're gonna call that good. Normally we'd go to 5250, but being that this is just a temporary thing. So we verified our gauge. Now we are going to come off of the ram. And then after taking it off the cable, slide it forward, then slide your grippers back. We'll come right off. And now we would just take a measurement of our elongation. We'd measure that mark right there off the face of the concrete, and then we would give the inspector. So as you can see, with the seating loss from the coupler, we gained 3/4 of an inch. You normally get about 1/4 of an inch per wedge, which would be about right with how short this is for the seating loss on the other side and in the coupler we got here. So there's 3 sets of wedges, and just something to think about when you're doing this, so you understand when your elongation comes out that you're gonna have extra seating loss in this process. So that is how you would do a coupler. This is our little mock-up out here. Just going over the things to verify again. First off, you're gonna wanna know the length of your cable, what your elongation is, and how big your hole is gonna need to be so your coupler can travel. Next thing is, once you got your coupler in there, make sure there's no concrete underneath it. It's not going to drag against rebar or anything along those lines. Always mark the cable at 3 inches on those couplers so that you know it's all the way in. Plus you have a way of verifying if your wedges have slipped while stressing. You will have your seating loss, don't forget that. And then after you get your coupler together and everything's measured and you know it's all together correctly, verify that you have your calibration sheet right with your gauge and your ram, and then you want to mark your cable. We do 10 inches because it's just easy math. And then you will start stressing. During stressing, you can watch that coupler for a little bit, but don't stand near it for more than like 2000 PSI just to verify it's not slipping. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. More importantly, I hope you learned something. I hope you understand more of how a coupler goes together. If you ever need anything, feel free to call Post Tensioning Solutions. And this is just another reason we stress excellence.